Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Pilot of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer 40k Combat Patrol magazine. Now, as per usual, with all these videos, if you like them, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and of course, drop me a comment down below. Love hearing back from you guys. It goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, this week, issue 61, going into the last 30, it's obviously time for new factions, but before we see the new factions, obviously we have a new playmat, double-sided as per usual. It kind of links up to the other large double-sided playmats that we've had previously, so yeah, gives you a bigger battlefield in the long run. Yeah, works very, very well, does exactly what you need to do. Have a bit of fun with it, enjoy yourself when you're playing, and they come in handy. The other thing I'm going to quickly say before something noisy goes off in the background is I am recording this here on bonfire night here in the UK, so there are fireworks going off in the background, so you may hear them throughout the video. We'll try to ignore it and move on the best we can with, you know, noisy kind of explosions in the background. It is what it is. Anyway, obviously issue 61 brings us into a new faction within Warhammer 40k Combat Patrol. So, this Combat Patrol is the Genestealer cults. Now, I do like the Genestealer cults. They have a cool little aesthetic with them. Have I ever done them before? No, I have not. Do I know a lot about their lore? I really do not. So, I am very, very happy to get these magazines, learn a bit more about the Genestealer cults and how they work and utilise, and even some of their unique lore as well. Should be really, really good fun. So obviously, we get a first mini for this range, and that is the Magus. So, one very, very small sprue for one very slender psyker. So, you do have a build option with this one as well, which is always really good fun. So, this mini is pretty small. There are some small parts to it. Have a bit of fun with it. Enjoy yourself when building it. I'm going to build this later on. And yeah, should be really, really good fun. It's a really cool mini. I do genuinely like the aesthetic of the Magus. Yeah, the more I see it, the more I like it. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Anywho, going into issue 61. First off, we are of course greeted by a build guide for our newest mini to our collection. There are a lot of, as I say, small parts, so it is very easy to drop them. So be careful, take your time, don't rush it. Have a bit of fun, and yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy it, so I'm sure you will too. So just take your time with it. Obviously, clean everything up, dry fit pieces before gluing them as well to make sure it does go together. If you have the Citadel glue, it's not too bad. Sometimes it doesn't stick very well. If you have some Tamiya extra thin cement though, even better. That seems to take a hold very, very fast. It's not fully cured for about 12 to 24 hours, but far better than the regular plastic glue. Firework. Anyway, try to ignore the fireworks as we carry on. He says that, not ignoring the fireworks. Anywho, pretty cool, really, really good fun. So, I must admit, I'm looking forward to these guys. It'll be really, really good and enjoyable. On the other page, a couple more spoiled parts, and then your build option. So you only have one option for this. That is with the dagger or with the left hand holding a skull. Your choice. In all honesty, I like both. I think both options are really cool and look really nice. I'm probably going to go for the dagger in the long run, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, both look good. Moving on from there, obviously we have our paint guide as well for our new mini. So, utilising a Baden black undercoat for everything that's been primed with it. Utilising some Metallic Standard Grey, Mephiston Red and Minstratum Grey Wraithbone. Works very, very well. I must admit, I like the paint scheme. It does work well. Then obviously adding your extra layers up on there, like your Lead Belcher, Retributor Armour, Catachan Flesh and more to kind of keep you going. I'm not going to lie, I think this paint guide works extremely well. It does do the mini justice. To the point, this is probably going to be one of them rare times where I'm going to paint it pretty much exactly like the paint guide. I'm probably not going to deviate too much away from it. Probably just on the basing more than anything, but I probably will deviate away from it on there. But otherwise, yeah, it's a good paint job. It does exactly what you need it to do. It looks pretty good. Yeah, it's a good paint job. That's most I can say about it, really. It is a good paint job. It does work very, very well. So I will probably follow that paint job. So happy days. So yeah, when you're done, you can have something that looks like that. Obviously, there are other bits to add to it later on with some of the other paints that we will get later on. So yeah, although we haven't probably got many more paints to go with this range, in all honesty. But yeah, super cool. Anyway, moving on. Let's have some lore to do with the Genestealer cults, because I'm thirsty for it. And if you don't know anything about Genestealer cults and you think they're cool too, you might be as well. So, the Genestealer cults, the insidious curse. Lurking within the Imperium is a dire threat. Dangerous cults enthrall to tyrannid organisms. These fanatical sects worship the Xenos creature as divine saviours. Secretive, stealthy, and unimaginably dangerous, the Genestealer cults are a cancer at the heart of the Imperium. Such cults can spell utter annihilation for the worlds on which they prosper, for the psychic bond they share is a brightly burning beacon in the warp that draws the Tyrannid hive fleets. The Genestealers that the cults worship are, in fact, Tyrannid vanguard organisms whose role it is to seek out new feeding grounds. However, the cult is completely unaware of the Genestealers' true purpose. To them, the multi-limbed horrors are heralds of the coming gods, who will offer deliverance from the tyranny of the Imperium. So, in kind of reading between the lines there, the way the Imperium is run, being quite, tyrannical and very oppressive and everything like that, to the general bog standard population of the Imperium, can drive people into these cults. So, exactly the same way as it sometimes drives some of them towards chaos, it can drive them towards the Genestealer cults themselves, and the Genestealers are, in fact, Tyrannids. So, pretty cool, pretty interesting, and a little bit different as well. The cults will sometimes operate very, very in the shadows, but will also eventually spill out and cause mayhem and carnage and sometimes destruction along the way. And yeah, happy days. Moving on from there, you get a bit more information about different sections of how the cults work. So, the information about Space Hawks. So the Space Hawks are chaotic amalgamations of wrecked ships thrown together on the tides of the warp and floating endlessly between real space and the Empyrean. Lacking conventional technology, Genestealers often stow aboard these hulks to travel throughout the galaxy. So that's generally how the Genestealer will kind of get away. They'll sometimes appear on these space hulks, and sometimes they infiltrate through them to kind of get to where they really want to go and their new feeding grounds. The cults, when a Genestealer finds a populated world, it will infect the local populace with its own DNA, and those infected will become psychically bound to the Genestealer, falling under its control. Their offspring will be hybrids, combining human and Xenos traits. The Star Children section. So, Genestealer cults revere their alien progenitors, while they understand very little of the truth about them. They view them in allegorical terms as saviours from beyond the stars or divine messengers. Viewed in this light, Tyrannids become the subject of the cult's religious beliefs. The evolution of a cult and the patriarch as well. So the cults will kind of assemble that way, and the DNA kind of splits down, and down with generations, hybrids begin to look more and more human, as the hybrids interbreed, and many are able to pass unnoticed among human infected, uninfected humans, should say, and stuff like that. So they can infiltrate. So they are very, very good infiltration units as well. And the Patriarch is the creature at the heart of the cult, and whose DNA is flowing through all its followers. So yeah, a bit of information about them, and then your first, second generation hybrids, third and fourth generation hybrids, and the pure strain genestealers as well, which are the Tyranids themselves. That when the Tyranid DNA has fully reasserted itself after the fourth generation has reproduced generally. So yeah, and then there are some genetic aberrations as well. So where it's DNA is not always predictable, so sometimes it does make these weird, hulking, mutated monstrosities that operate within a genestealer cult. So can be quite good fun. Then we're moving on. Obviously, we get information about the cult, the collecting pages. So the genestealer cult's characters. So we get to name the leaders and such like that. So whether it's the Worm's Tooth, for instance, or the Righteous and True, and much, much more. And you get to give your cult names and stuff like that, which I must admit I do quite like. I feel like that and think it's a pretty good one. So not too bad at all. And obviously your backgrounds. Then obviously we move on, we have our collect page for our mages as well. Obviously you get to give them their unit name, you get to roll for them and have a bit of fun with it, and you get your data sheet on the other side to give you all your stats that you need. Obviously we have not had the data cards yet. These will come, I imagine, in the next week or two, possibly with the Astra Militarum cards, maybe not, who knows, but it should be really, really good fun. Moving on from there, we get scenario number 38, Sowing the Seeds. And obviously we get to use our mages for the first time in a game. So with this one, if you're going to play it, you're going to be utilising the Battle Mat 1, which is obviously one of the small ones. You will use your Tyranid terrain cards and have your Eldari deployed in 4 zones. So you're not going to be utilising all your Eldari, you are going to be using your, your Guardians with this one, going up against the mages in the middle. However, obviously, the terrain is Tyranid terrain. So there is that psychic bond beyond connecting the mages and the terrain can do some damage to the Eldari as it goes. So the Eldari is going to need to kill not only the mages, but also the terrain. So it can be a little bit more fun. And obviously, if they're a bit too close, the terrain can hit back. So, happy days. Going on from there, obviously, you've got your victory conditions as well. Have a bit of fun with it, enjoy yourself, and do it a couple of times so you can get the use of using the mages. Obviously, you can replay this as many times as you like. If you really, really wanted to as well, you don't have to use Eldari, you could use something else. So, have a bit of fun with it. Enjoy yourself. Moving on, though. Next week is issue 62. It is a paint issue, so nothing super heavy or super great to write home about. We get Caliban Green, which is a dark green. So we've had Auric Flesh already. This is far darker. And, it's a decent colour, but it is very, very dark. And Wild Rider Red. Wild Rider Red is very orangey, but it is actually a shade of red. So it's very, very good for things like your very fine edge highlights of red cloaks, for instance, and stuff like that. And it does a nice little job, which is the main thing. And then issue 63 is more minis. So we get the Acolyte hybrids for 5 minis with these guys. One of them's holding a big circular saw, which I always find really, really funny. Pretty much all of them have 3 hands because they're mutated and stuff like that, apart from the one who has 4, and it also has a whip and a kind of bone sword type thing going on. So pretty fun, pretty cool, pretty interesting. And the genestealer cult should be really, really good fun. There are some really, really good issues, really good minis for them. So things like the Atalan Jackals, the Goliath rock truck and stuff like that are really, really cool. So we've got some real good little bits to look forward to with these guys, but should keep us really going. And then obviously we move into the Astra Militarum and the World Eaters to round off the collection. Happy days. Right, that is enough from me. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, I'll see you sometime soon. Bye-bye now.